Have you ever taken an online course or sat through a presentation and the instructor or presenter uses slides like this? It's absolute torture, and one of three things will likely happen. Either your students will fall asleep, pick up their mobile phone and flip open Instagram, or they will completely shut you off. In this video, I will show you 3 live examples of slides that you can use for your online course, and I will give you 5 tips on how you can execute your slides so that you don't torture your students. Hi, I'm Ben, and I've been working in the e-learning industry since 2012. On this YouTube channel, we talk about building online courses with video. If you haven't done so yet, consider subscribing. Okay, let's get into the video. There is a rather funny but true phrase that describes the effect of terrible slide presentations: death by PowerPoint. In fact, just Google that phrase and you'll even find a TEDx presentation on that very topic because it's a real thing. Okay, but you might be thinking, well, how will my students learn if I don't put information on screen? Good question. Let's do a quick test. Let's say I have a course teaching students about podcasting, and I wanted to make reference to 3 different types of mics. Which one of the 2 slides do you think would be a little more effective? This one? Or this one? The great thing about an online course is you can always provide students with an action guide or a downloadable PDF with all the technical specs. Trust me, if you attempt to put all of that information on the slide and talk over the slide, either the students will read ahead, get confused, or they're just going to completely tune you out. The slides are meant to be a visual tool, not an ebook. Okay, let's talk about the 3 types of slides that you may want to consider. First, we have text and image slides. Just as I demonstrated moments ago, this slide would be an example of a text and image slide. You'd basically place the topic or just a couple of points and an image. Please don't use bullets. In fact, that'll be one of my 5 tips that I'll be talking about in just a couple minutes. Next, we have the talking head slide. This is really effective because people can see your face as you talk. Again, keep the text on screen minimal and use an image. The great thing about the talking head is that now your students see your facial expressions, your emotions, and your hand gestures, which is another form of helpful communication. If you do choose this method, be sure you are energetic and lively. Go grab some coffee or an energy drink just before you record so that you can be sure you are enthusiastic. The third option is the full talking head with the lower thirds or full slide with animation. This is an example of a lower third with full talking head. I know this is not necessarily a slide, but it's still allowing you to place minimal text on screen with an animation. In the same respect, you could just insert a full slide with animation just like this. Again, keep text minimal, referencing the main topic with an image. Obviously, you will be using software like Keynote or PowerPoint, even Google Slides. So be sure to keep these 5 tips in mind as you create your slide deck. First, and most importantly, make sure that you select the correct slide size. Obviously, this depends on the video size that you'll be using. So if you're creating a video in 1080p or 720p, you'll want to use 16:9 ratio slides. If you have a different aspect ratio like 4:3, then you'll want to set the size accordingly. I highly recommend that you create your videos in 1080p, which is pretty standard for video courses. Tip number 2, as I already alluded to, don't use bullet points. I know this might be a tough one. However, I've heard it said that bullets kill people. And I don't want to do that. I've mentioned this before, and this is a perfect segue into my 3rd tip, which is be sure to keep text minimal so that you only include one topic and a supporting image. Again, you know your students best and know what's best for them. These are just recommendations and guidelines. Perhaps you are teaching how to code and you want to discuss a code snippet. Then you'll need to introduce a bit more text. However, be sure only to use what's relevant to the point you are making with that particular example. Also, graphs and charts are okay, but make them easy to grasp and understand, and make sure they look nice so that your students won't have to strain their eyes just to see the data. I know Canva is a great option for infographics, but I'm sure there are many other resources out there. Do you happen to have any good resources for making infographics or charts or graphs? If so, do me a favor, put those suggestions in the comments below. Tip number 4 is to use animation, talking head, images, even animated GIFs to liven up your slides. It's okay to use animation, just be sure it's relevant to the topic. In fact, I recommend using some or a mashup of all of these suggestions. It just helps to break up the course and keep your students interested. I know there are some of you that are deathly afraid of the camera, and that's okay. You can still make an awesome course with slides only, but please make your slides good. Tip number 5 is to use a software like ScreenFlow or Camtasia to record your online course. These applications can handle capturing a talking head while capturing what's on your screen so that you can have a talking head on top of the slides. You can either use a green screen or a white screen. The screen you see behind me is actually a white screen. The green screen is a little bit more difficult to dial in because you have to get the green screen perfectly lit and balanced. The white screen is a bit more forgiving and you can tweak the brightness to give it the appearance of a green screen if your slide background is white. If you've stuck around till now, here's a bonus tip for you. Be cognizant of the time that you park on a particular slide. You don't want to stick on the same slide for too long, otherwise your students could start to lose interest. This is why I love the idea of using a talking head over your slides. It just gives a listener a different focal point. Remember, the objective is to help your students learn. Did you learn something new? If so, would you please consider subscribing below and click that bell for notifications. We will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.